Good day, people. This is Brother Lyles, and this is Minding My Business. And decided to come outside today and do this video. Um, Starting to cool off a little bit. Um, Labor Day will be here in a few days, and the official end of summer will be here. And this has been a scorcher of a summer. But also very, very wet. Also, we've been getting a lot of rain here. But the weather has kind of mirrored the climate, political climate here in the country. Very, very hot. Very, very stormy, wet. Lot of floods, a lot of destruction. Um, and that is what we see with what's going on with the Trump administration, with everything that they are implementing across the United States. It's hard to believe that all this stuff has been done by the Trump administration in under 8 months. We'll be going into the ninth month soon, but all this has been done in the last 8 months with the tariffs, with the ICE raids, and now with the federalization of the National Guard across different parts of the nation because of the crime in different metropolitan areas, from the vantage point of the Trump administration. It seems like they're only really going after the Democratic metropolitan areas, DC. I think Chicago is supposed to be another place that they're going to be sending National Guard that's federalized. I don't know whichever other ones, but I'm sure the list will grow day by day. But as I look at what Trump is doing, some of the stuff that he's doing is definitely not new. Some of the stuff that Trump is doing kind of reminds me of the Reagan administration a little bit, with the executive orders. And I could be wrong, but I want to say that Reagan was the first president to use the executive order in order to send U.S. troops into conflict. It was either him or it was Johnson with the Dominican incursion. I'm not sure which one, but I know that Reagan used executive orders to do that, and it was a kind of a drastic move. And we see that Donald Trump is using executive orders like he's on steroids, and using it to override things that he believed that the Congress would not support, through legislation. So I do see that similarity, and also this federalization of National Guard and some military, active duty military, to do policing. Although it's not new. Usually, what we've seen, it was just one particular area, but what Trump wants to do is this stuff is outside of natural disasters when you mostly would see National Guard troops federalized. This is outside of that. This is him saying, and this was at the really would be at the pretense of the governors of those states calling for their National Guard to walk the streets with the regular police, but Trump is basically usurping um, um, that step and saying, I don't need the governors to do it. I'm going to do it myself. Um, and that is the slight difference of what we see going on. And he's not doing it in just one area. Like when they had the LA riots um, back in the 90s, I can remember a very, it was a very dramatic picture that I'd seen. The California National Guard had been called up to go into the different black neighborhoods, and you seen this black California National Guardsman standing on the street corner in riot gear, standing in front of all these black people. And I said, I can imagine in my mind that this young black man is probably from this very neighborhood. So here he is in riot gear, standing in front of his family, his cousins, his friends. With he had the M16 up on his shoulder, and he was looking at them. And I was like, right then and there, I probably would have had to, disobey a lawful order and go turn in my gear and say, I'm not, I'm not going in here and uh, uh, pointing weapons and batons at my mom or my brothers or my cousins and all this kind of crazy stuff, because I got to come back here and live in this neighborhood. So that's one of the things that comes to my mind when I see uh, some of these National Guards in DC that are black. They're probably a DC residents themselves, and they walk in the streets that they probably, when they was not activated, they themselves would be walking. And also I think about when Trump sent the National Guard and the Marines to LA, supposedly for the riots there. And I seen that a lot of them and some of the ICE agents are Hispanic people. And I think about, you know, that same scene that I seen back in 1990, but now it's like on a different level because now this is going on across the nation. So in that sense, that is an escalation of what I've seen in the past. Now you did had the riots that happened back in 1968 when King was assassinated, because all across this nation black people had had enough. And when they had basically deleted Martin Luther King in the way that they did, there was riots all across the nation. So of course the National Guard and every other resource was called out to try to quell the uprising. And really, unfortunately, for a lot of those um, neighborhoods back in the 60s where the riots happened, they said it took some of those uh, neighborhoods in those black metropolitan areas, it took some of them decades to recover, if some of them recover at all. Because as we know, a lot of times what we call the black neighborhood in the inner city, most of the buildings, the stores and all that are not owned by us. And the people that stores or whatever was burnt down, is up to them if they're going to return, or are they going to relocate somewhere else, or are they going to renovate the apartments and different things, or they're gonna just let them stay the way they are because they will have the pretense of, why am I gonna improve this if these people are gonna go back and one day get angry and burn it down. I would just say to us as black people here in America, this is not anything new to us. It's not. It's definitely not something that um, uh, we we invite. We want it, but that's just remember that, what's been happening in the last 10 to 15 years. With Ferguson, George Floyd, and all these things. This for us is not new. What is new is, don't let far left leaning groups like Antifa come in and up the ante and cause you to replay. And I know you know, a lot of the stuff that was destroyed during Ferguson and many other places, Baltimore and things like that, was the Antifa forces that has been used to um, uh, push the agenda that I just got to saying. Why rebuild? Why invest in these? Reinvest in these black communities? They're gonna go just burn it down. So that's not allow these forces, even though you're upset with the ICE, the National Guard. It's not new. It is not new. It is not new. The far right think tanks coming up with manifestos and all. It is not new. The same thing has been in existence for time immemorial. Even when Reagan was in, you had the um, Heritage Foundation. You had the Focus on the Family. All these different things during his time. The evangelical Christian right, moral majority. Um, During my time, it is not new. It's not to say that we shouldn't be on guard for it. We should, and we should definitely be vocal about it. But I'm saying, don't let it get you hyped to the point that some of you are gonna come out there and take the bait of Antifa and go and try to run over ICE agents, or shoot at National Guardsmen, or try to lay ambush for Marines or whatever. Now, obviously, we're living in the information age, and you have your phone, your compadres. If you definitely see illegal stuff, that's the good thing about the internet. That's the good thing about the camera on your phone. You can go record it, you can document it, and you can, it'll be out there when it's time that this stuff it goes it goes too far, and the evidence will be there. So that's what we have to do. We have to watch. We have to watch. But that's resist the temptation to go out there and do like our ancestors did back in the 1960s. And although yes, a lot of the places that they were in the 60s were run down and all that. Yes, it was a lot of it was hellish conditions that people were living in. So yes, when the king assassination happened and the people rioted, yeah, someone would say the place was run down anyway, but it further even more ostracized the situation for those who could not move away from these areas, and there was not no improvement made. And this indeed was what helped solidify the situation that was already there with the the drugs and the crime and all that. This solidified it in that there was not going to be any federal funds. There was not going to be any private investors coming back in there, because now they had their case, and therefore some of these cities laid in ruins for decades. And when they finally did start recovering, the only way it was able to recover is through gentrification, where they said they just finally bulldozed the south side of Chicago down and gentrify it, and then, you know, people was dispersed. So that's just remember that as we do see the National Guard and all those going throughout these different cities, that Trump is going to militarize them to, I think about this is going to force us to start to learn how to unify some kind of way. Someone's, excuse me, said the perils of filming outside. But this is going to force us, just like I see on the African continent with all that's been going on the African continent. You seen it with the AES, Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, to form the Sahel Union. And now you see all throughout Africa that the African nations, seeing even before what happened with Trump, but especially now that Trump came and cut aid and all, it kind of forced them to come together and realize, man, we got everything we need to exist without these people, without even their aid. I gotta believe that we here in the West as black people, sitting here in the belly of the beast of the people that is causing commotion all around the world, us of cooler minds understand, yeah, if we got 1 point something trillion spending power, that if only a portion of that was you know, coalesced, what we could do. I think about the Carmelo Anthony situation, the young man that excuse me, the young man that is being prosecuted because of the stabbing in self-defense against the white football player. How his GoFundMe, how black people came together, and I know I donated to donate over $500,000 to that Carmelo Anthony's family for his defense. Now, all the other stuff that has happened, whether or not they spend it right or not, I'm not sure. I know that there's a lot of lies and stuff going on outside of what is the truth. So all I'm saying is, look how we was able to mobilize for that young man's family and him. I gotta believe that we gotta look for more opportunities for that stuff to happen. Whereas, you know, the homelessness and stuff that is going on in not just DC but LA and all these different places, that it's got to, pressure has to be exerted on our political leaders to be more of a coalesced voice right now, not just for the immigrants that are coming under attack, but for us who are also their constituents, to be able to create a focal point and a agenda where they can say, look, there are not going to be any resources coming to this way. We've been able to create a fund to help some people in some of these areas where it is too expensive for them to live, we be able to come with a legitimate fund that black people from all over the country can donate their funds to help these people relocate effectively to other areas where the cost of living is cheaper. Reason why I'm saying this, I think about what is going on in Burkina Faso, how after they kicked out the French and they put all these sanctions on them, but they knew they had to fight against terrorism. Ibrahim Traore, a black man, created a fund in Burkina Faso called the Fund for the Defense of the Homeland, where he told the people, look, I can't get no, when IMF, World Bank, all of them have cut off giving us any loans. We got a terrorist situation going on where our nation is being ravaged by terrorism. We need weapons to fight back that we can't get from nobody else. And how the people of Burkina Faso, the average citizen, they donated to these funds, and the government went in and got these funds, purchased weapons, and helped them in the fight against terrorism. Also use some of those funds to help them in agriculture and everything. If these nations in Africa can do it with the meager resources they have, we in Black America have $1.4 trillion spending power. Not to say that all of that is in liquid assets. It might be in other forms, but why isn't it that we can't do something like that in these different areas? What it boils down to is we need the right voices to stand forth and to do this. And one of the good things that happened during Reagan time, and I used to hear people say it. They said Reagan, because up until Reagan, we had Jimmy Carter, and he was social welfare programs and different things like that. Reagan came and he started cutting some of that stuff out, and I used to hear black people back then, even as a young man, saying Reagan is forcing us. He is forcing us to coalesce. He is forcing us to work together to solve some of these problems, because the money is not gonna come. It is not coming. Reagan went and he turned a lot of tables over. He was a very militaristic president. His goal was to destroy the Soviet Union by outspending them, which he was able to do. Now, how did he get a lot of this accomplished? Through a lot of wicked and underhanded things that he did. He did a lot of wicked and underhanded stuff to the black community. The Iran-Contra stuff, where they was bringing drugs and stuff in or whatever. Yeah, he was part of that. Guns, bringing in guns, violence, and the way I was able to escape all that is I went in the military. Well, with Trump, like I said, it's gonna force a lot of you to get down to the nitty gritty, and social media, making a living off of social media is not it. You need to use the Google search. You need to use the AI and all these things to figure out the things that are available, that's still available in this nation. Our ancestors, some of them was able to recover from the riots of the 1960s. Not the whole community, but some of them. Some of them was able to recover from the LA riots. Some of them was able to recover from the stuff that happened in Hurricane Katrina. but overall as a whole, we are lacking. But this is calling for all hands on deck. And so I'm telling you, use the Google, use the AI to go on there and look up for resources. They're out there. They're out there. You just got to take some time. You got to get off the Instagram, taking pictures of yourself all day. You got to get off the TikTok. Um, and I know some people saying people making money off of TikTok, but how long is it gonna last? Is good side hustle, but I'm talking about um, something. What if the power goes out in your area? What you gonna do then? You understand? And if you making all this money on TikTok, are you setting some of this money aside, or are you spending it all up and whatever? This is all kind of questions of what they call these social media influencers, really where the money is going or whatever. But anyway, getting back to um, us as black people, um, we gotta come together some kind of way. Maybe not, on a large scale, but if it's someone that you know you can uh, go to, you know, that can give you some advice or whatever. I'm encouraging our people to look at the Trump administration not as a end, but a beginning of the end of the beginning. We know what he's about. Now let's look at the stuff around, and let's try to make something out of this for ourselves. All right. Um, and so I don't know if this will help anybody, but I pray that something I said, will let you know that we've been through this before. We've seen this before. And some of us have not just come through it, we've come through it with flying colors. And I'm saying to you, this generation, don't give up hope. Don't feel hopeless as you look out at this and say, oh, he's kicking all people out of federal jobs. And I'm here to let you know that is far from the truth. That is far from the truth. I'm not saying that people that ain't losing their jobs, but he's definitely gonna be a time when they're gonna have to hire again. And I would encourage you to go back out there. Again, the perils of filming outside. I would encourage you to go back, maybe but at the beginning of next year, when some of this stuff settles down. And then it's never going to totally settle down with Trump, because he's moving from one thing to the next. And unless he kicks off World War III with Russia, I would say, yeah, by either in the new fiscal year or in January 2026, go back and at some things die down. You'll see sometimes the playing field has been cleared, and you might find out there's a lot more opportunities out there if you don't give in to your fear. That's what I would tell you today. So with that, I want to thank you for tuning into my channel, Mining My Business, and I hope this was of a help. Bye.